So Astrid, I met Astrid in Voices, and she in a group interview. And what I remember about her is she was quite the talker. In fact, she wouldn't stop talking, but she was great. Soerni, I met her here. I actually knew Soerni about her before she got here because her doctor and me are good friends, and I met her with her mother, and she was very. I remember her being very close and attached to her mother. That's one thing I remember about her. Camila has a lot of energy, and she spends a lot of time studying here and talking to her mother in Puerto Rico. That I remember really clearly. Kendra I really didn't meet until junior year, but Kendra has a sort of quiet, sort of confidence and smile, and she's very well grounded. Sarah, what I think about Sarah is she's studying 24 hours a day, just study, 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 study. Yarelis, I met her first at the barbecue, and I remember the first thing she told me was, "Why do I need to go to the Jamaica Plain trip? I live in Jamaica Plain." And she did that little sassy Yarelis thing. Well, now I learned that she's actually kind of funny, and she's not the way I envisioned her. Yesenia, I don't know very well, but I remember that one day she wanted to come to the retreat, but she wasn't sure about whether she can study and also do extracurriculars. But I hear that she's doing a lot of extracurriculars. Claudia, I only met once in Promoting Unity, and I remember that she has a great smile. And I wonder why I never see her in the daytime. Okay, that's everybody, right? Gilbert. How could I forget Gilbert, the tallest Latino we've ever had at Tufts? Okay, and I remember it was important for me to hire him here because I needed somebody tall enough to reach and change the clock during, the change of clock time. And he also is a great fan of the Mets and the Knicks, which are my favorite teams. So that's why he's working here. If it wasn't for his height and his love of sports, he wouldn't be working here.
So I guess my very first impression of Astrid was that she was like this really energetic, like cheerleader from Texas who was like really into being Mexican, like obsessed with being Mexican. And that was cool, but I also didn't really understand her because I had never met anybody like so bubbly and like so like, I don't know. She reminds me of my mom. I tell her that she's like kind of like my mother. But yeah, so that was my first impression of Astrid. And now, even though she spends all her time away from me because she has her boyfriend, we're still really good friends. And yeah, that's all.
So, ironically enough, my first impression of two of my e-board members was that Yarelis was actually a sophomore, while Soerni I thought to be a junior, but it turns out that's actually not the case, and it's actually the opposite, and even to the point that Yarelis was Soerni's LPL, and Soerni was the younger one.
Okay, so when I first met Astrid, I was just like, she's so small. Like, really, she's so small. And then at the end, so we were on the board together the whole year, and at the end, she's still so small.
My first impression of Astrid. I guess when I first met her, I was like, wow, she is tiny. No, I'm just kidding. But I thought she was a freshman actually. So I was about to ask her where she was from, what she was planning to major in, and then I kind of
get at her.
What? Calm down, no. Nah, it was just so random how that was my first impression of her. But like, no, she's a really cool person. She's helped me with a lot of things, a lot of situations when I was like, oh, I don't know what to do, She'd always be there, like, help lay out the cards and be like, well, you do this, you do that, or I've heard people do this, go talk to this such and such person,
So my first impression of Soerni was that naturally she was stinky, and I actually didn't like Soerni because I just didn't mesh with her at all. We bumped heads on a lot of the things that we had to decide for ALAS, and I don't know, we just didn't like each other. But I was completely wrong. She's one of the most compassionate people I've ever met, and I definitely like her now. She's a little less stinky. My first impression of Yesenia was during the open house for the Latino Center while we were LPLs, and I thought she was very into academics. Well, I'm sure she is, but she just kept asking. She was very nervous, I think, and she just kept asking a lot about, I think, the Spanish major and about all the different majors at Tufts, and I just thought she was a little too scared for a freshman, a little too uptight, and I thought she needed to relax. But she has relaxed. She has a lot of fun now, so that's good, and I'm glad I got to know her that first day, whatever it was.
So, Astrid, the first time I met her, I thought she was extremely bossy. I was like, dang, this chick, she need to calm down. But after a while, I thought she was cool. So, yeah, she's aight.
What about Camila?
And Camila, it's a whole different story. I thought she was cray. I was like, dang, this chick is like super wild. And then, like, with her little, like, hair, like, always just like boom, and then, like, very, like, bold. She was a bold character in general, and, like, her, like, lipstick, always, like, bright and, like, gray sometimes. Or red. Or just colors. But yeah, and then I met her and I thought she was cool too. She was aight.
First impressions of G Pleasure is Gilbert Blaseres. I was abroad in London like for the whole year, and I kept hearing about this Gilbert character, and I kept seeing pictures of him like all over Facebook, and everybody was talking about Gilbert, and he's this freshman that everybody loves, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, we'll see. So when I got back, so like last fall, when I got back to campus, I finally met Gilbert. We had a class together, History of African American Music. We had like talked a little bit like in the Latino Center and stuff. And I guess, you know, over the course of the past 2 semesters, I've gotten to know him. He's cool as fuck. I like Gilbert. He's my Papi for life.
My first impression of Jadalise was that she just seemed like a very, very kind person. Like, she seemed so approachable and, like, just super, like, not bubbly, but just, like, very happy and, like, very, just, like, good energy. She just held a lot of good energy, and I feel like she has this kind of sisterly vibe to her. Like, I would really, really dig if she was my sister. That'd be awesome. Like, that's pretty much who she is to me, kind of. Like, I see her like that. I don't see her all the time, but from the first day I met her, she's always been like this really kind soul. So, yeah.
Well, the first time I met Yaralis, honestly, well, she messaged me 3 days before I came to Voices and very, like, aggressively happy, and which kind of scared me a little because she was, like, overly excited. But, I mean, I loved it eventually, but, like, at first I was scared. And then when I got here, she was still overly excited and, like, be my best friend. But eventually it worked, and she is, like, my best friend now. So I'm glad I met her in that scary way, because now we're even closer.
So when I first met Camila, my impressions were, who is this girl that looks exactly like MJ? Because she and MJ are like the spitting image of each other. And, you know, I was just really impressed by her because she studied, like, I don't know, engineering and math and geology and all these crazy things. And she was on the swim team, and she was just really cool. And I thought she was great and so bubbly and happy. And this year we've gotten much closer. We hang out a lot more. I'm really happy that I've gotten to know her. Camila is a really strong person. She's so smart and passionate and energetic, and she just like brings light to like whatever room she walks into. I love Camila. She's great.
Who are we talking about here though?
Yesenia. I'm that crazy motherfucker.
My first impression of Claudia was I hadn't met her before the moment that we ran, that elections were going on for first year rep, and this girl, she introduces herself like, hi, my name is Claudia, and she said her name like 20 million times, and I was like, this girl is cray, we cannot elect her, but she was really cray. but then I really liked her, and she's still cray, and that was my first impression of her, that she was cray.
Alright, so my first impression of Gilbert, I met him at the Latino retreat. Pretty cool guy. I was like, alright. His music tastes on point. He knew Wu-Tang versus the Beatles, good stuff. And yeah, now he's still pretty freaking awesome. I know you want me to say something else other than that, but
My first impression of Sarah. Pessimistically hilarious. Yeah.
So when I first saw Camila, she was I noticed her because she was friends with Jovi, and I was just always wondering why Jovi was friends with her, because she had this mean face and she looked so intimidating. I was like, I'm never gonna be her friend. But now we are friends, and I know that she's like really soft inside.
When I first met Sarah, I did an all-nighter here. I slept on the floor, and it was weird. But you know what? She was cool with it. She is a special person. It was my first impression. She was hilarious. I don't remember what she was saying that night, but I just know I was constantly laughing whenever she would talk, and it was great. Still laugh at everything she says. Everything she says is gold. But basically, my first impression of her was, she's really funny. She's really nice. I was a freshman and she was a sophomore, and it was just oh, I just made a new friend. Oh no, it was good. And she was okay with my weirdness, and then next thing I know, we became friends, and she's weird too. In a great way, though.
So I first met Soedmi during Voices my sophomore year. I was organizing it. Then I would say the official meet was during orientation here at the center. I think it was here at the center. And she comes to me very excited and was like, "Hi, we met last year." Like very nervous, very giddy. It was adorable. Yeah, and that giddiness is still there. Very, very smiley. I love it. So I knew you're great.
So I met Sarah in the Latino Center. I was actually sitting right here, and Sarah was on the table talking because she wasn't she was working a financial aid office, and she came here for the first year students orientation, and she just kept talking like always. And then she asked me where I was from, and I said Somerville, and then she said Malden, and we started talking, and we noticed that we had we both play soccer, not together but on the same Somerville team. But then we met again for the Jamaica plane trip, and I saw her, and then that's where I met Kendra. I told her that was one of my favorite Playboy what's it called, the bunnies, and that I like Kendra. And then she hit me on the way there, and now they're my best friends here. But yeah, she still hits me. She's abusive, but very loving.
So this goes out to my co-PR, Mr. Gilbert, G Pleasures, G Money, Mr. Placeres, yes. My first impression of Gilbert, he was a little rough around the edges, not gonna lie. But we had a vision. We had a vision that this man, he was gonna do something great. He was gonna be someone great, and we decided that he was gonna be our project. We're gonna mold him into the vision of a man he is today. And I like to believe we were quite successful in this endeavor. So, Mr. Gilbert, if we get reports that you're slacking next year, we will be coming back. And that's a threat.
When I saw the E-board, I thought they were going to be weird together. I don't know how they're going to mesh well. Because Astrid has temperament issues. She gets in everybody's way. She's small, but she still gets in everybody's way. But I think they did a great job this year. Sonia, I think she did a great job running the meetings, kind of being the voice of ALAS, kind of like in the sense that like during the meetings she like really like took control and really took like care of her like business. I remember she had like issues, or she not issues, she was just kind of stressed with everything. She slowed it down now, kind of balanced her life out a lot, and I'm proud of her for that. Kendra, what is Kendra? She was a historian, that's right, historian. Never saw her take any photos. Nah, she did a great job. I think Kendra basically just hates me. It's okay. Sarah, she's weird. But nah, she killed it with PR. I got my email every week from her and Gilbert. They're a good team. Gilbert, Sarah, thank each other. Gilbert, I knew he had a Photoshop experience, and he was killing it with those like flyers. Yesenia, she was the freshman, right? I didn't know much about her, or Claudia, but yeah. So they did a good job though. I remember I was at behind the scenes of the ALAS Culture Show for a bit because I had that the spoken word poetry, and they did a good job being crew manager, stage crew. Yaralis, she did a good job as, what was her position? Yaralis was secretary, right? That's right. Sorry, Yaralis. I love Yaralis though. She's great. She loves me. I hope, anyways. Oh yeah, Camila. Camila's killing the game, homie. She killed it. She learned from Yorman, and Yorman taught her well, but that was all her. She took the treasury position to a whole nother level. But yeah, they did a good job. Good job, guys. I thought you guys were gonna fight and hit each other more often, which I'm upset that didn't happen, but it's okay. I'll forgive you.